And here on his Yamaha is Doug Dubach, who had a spectacular ride at the first moto. Really a tribute to a guy like Doug Dubach to have made it to this point.
And it seemed to make it look easy.
Welcome to the 2024 World Vet Motocross Championship. If you were old enough to race the first World Vet Championship, you would be 70 years old today. So it's hard to believe that if it was 40 years ago and you had to be 30 in order to race the first one, it means that the people who were racing in the 70 class and the 80 class and the high 60 classes, were young back then. Young as in 30 years old. Apart from the racing on the track, the partying in the pits, the mini bikes, the Pee-wees, the electric bikes, everybody racing regardless of where they're at, this is a big event. But a prime part of this event is the Edison Lifetime Achievement Award. And this year, the winner of the Edison Lifetime Achievement Award is Doug Dubach. Doug Dubach was only 21 years old when Tom White founded the World Vet Championship. Tom wanted a race for people over the age of 30 who back in 1970s were not a high profile group of people. So he thought if we held a special race for just people over 30, it would grow and it would be good for the sport. Turns out that from that humble beginning at Paris Raceway, it grew to the massive proportions that it is today. And Doug has been an integral part of the whole thing. He may not have been old enough to race the first one, but once he started racing in 1993, he has been the winningest rider at the World Vet Championship by leaps and bounds. He has 28 World Vet titles in the 30, the 40, the 50, and now the 60-year-old class. We are lucky enough to get to see him, try to make it 29. And also, we get to watch him receive the Edison Lifetime Achievement Award. Have a good time, enjoy yourself, and be careful.
As he goes up against Doug Dubach, number 12 of Team Yamaha, in the first of the two semifinals, which will transfer 5 riders to the main event
of the section. Cooper hits Dubach's bike, Matasevich plows into Cooper.
First met Doug back in about 1982. I was racing Saddleback Motocross Park. They had split starts back in those days. And I would be out, racing my moto, and I would hear this 125 coming up behind me. And I'm going, damn, the 125 is not going to pass me. So I'd floor it, and he'd stay right with me. And pretty soon he would pass me. And it was this kid on a clapped out RMZ 125, and that was Doug Dubach.
To summarize my career, I grew up without a lot. I was always buying used bikes and just doing everything I could to get to the races, the old Saddleback days and all that. And I had some results and got a little help, and Jody loaned me a bike to go to my first big national in Gainesville, Florida, where, I got 5th in the first moto on a borrowed magazine bike, RM125. So, and that's how it went on for several years, even after that. I got 10th that first year as a rookie and kind of clawed and scratched and got some more support. And, I didn't finally get any real support till I was in my mid-20s.
I was new to this country. I arrived 1987. And I think I met Doug shortly after that at a Wendy's in Moreno Valley. And at that point, I was maybe 21 years old. Maybe he's a couple of years older than me, but anyway, he was looking for a mechanic and basically gave me the job that day. Suddenly, January, I was at Anaheim Supercross as his mechanic when he was basically a privateer. I think that year he was top privateer in 1988. And from that point, he started to get support from factory Yamaha. And yeah, that's how I got my foot in the door at Yamaha. So, and eventually I was a factory mechanic when he was a factory rider. So we continued to work together.
Probably wouldn't change much of it because it made me who I am today. But, eventually made a lot of podiums. Was a factory rider for about 5 years and, won a Supercross along the way. So that, and then the important stuff happened, especially if you ask Jody, my vet career started. So that's a whole nother topic.
I talked to Doug about racing the World Vet Championship. He kept saying no And so I finally told him, I go, this is the most important race you'll ever ride in your career. I don't care that you won a Supercross race. That was a long time ago. This is today. This is now. And this now can continue on for the rest of your career. I know you don't want to be a washed-up 30-year-old motorcycle racer, but this is the top of the heap of washed-up 30-year-old motorcycle racers. And someday you can be the top of the heap of the washed-up 40-year-old motorcycle racers. Little did I know as I was telling him this that he would end up being the top of the heap of the 50-year-old washed-up motorcycle racers and the 60-year-old motorcycle racers. And I'm sure he's counting the days till he can be the top dog in this washed-up 70-year-old racer. He finally said, okay, I'll do it. I think history proves that it was the smartest thing he ever did. So, because he's still racing, he's still making money, he's still in demand, people still know who he is, and he owns it all to, not to that one Supercross race that he won, but to the 28 World Vet Championships that he's won since 1993.
Doug surprises me every year. We invariably, when this Vet National comes up, he'll either call me or I'll call him and say, we got to get ready for it. Later on now, as it goes along, he's not so, ready to give it everything he's got. But when he gets on the track, there's no quit in him. So he just gives it everything he's got.
I'd say he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's one of the craziest guys I've ever met because he just rides so much. He's nonstop. It doesn't matter his age. Age is not a factor for Doug. He never slows down. I've been racing him. Probably first time I raced with him was 2013, 2012, and I was always blown away by his intensity, and he still has that same intensity today. So that's awesome.
Yeah, to see Doug racing still is very inspiring to see that he is still super competitive. Like for his age, he's probably one of the top guys, and he has been the top guy in his age group for the last 30 years in all of the different classes. It seems like he's in his 60s. He's still probably the top guy in that category, and yeah, I can see him still continuing to ride into his 70s. He is he's something else. His longevity in the sport and the fact that he can still go and ride a 30-minute motor in some of the gnarliest conditions, and you see him out here just riding for fun. Like, what drives the man? It's truly amazing.
I don't know if that's ever going to happen. He just is always racing, always just a motorcycle enthusiast to his soul. That's all he does. And I thought he would have slowed down 10 years ago, but he's still going.
I remember a good friend of mine, ex-racer, came to me one day at Glen Helen and asked me, how many laps do you think you've done overall in your life? And we had a good laugh and could never really come up with a good number. It was very big, but why do you keep coming back and all that? And kind of at the end of that conversation, there was no answer. I enjoy dirt bikes. I enjoy the people that are involved with dirt bikes. And so ultimately, if I can stay healthy enough, I don't know when the end is going to be, so I just keep trying to enjoy it. Not too many other communities that I can think of in like a sports world that is so close-knit and just well-traveled, and everyone's kind of on the same page in moto.
Sights on Doug Dubach. Question is, will Dubach want to battle with him, or will the experience of Dubach say, hey, on the slippery track, you want it that bad, you can have it?
And this young kid come up to me and he said, I'd like to test for you. But during the race time, you're busy with stuff and everything. Well, he went away. About an hour later, he came back. Hey, listen, I'm ready to test anytime, And he was like a little gnat. He just kept coming back at me, wanted to know when he could test. So finally, I just said, give me your telephone number. And I figured, well, this kid, I don't know. I'll give him a try. The first time when he came out to test, I was super impressed. I knew he rode well because I watched him up at Mammoth. Anyhow, I was super impressed. That was the reason that he worked for me for 18 years at Yamaha.
My Yamaha career has spanned almost 40 years now, so even longer than my vet career. But I was lucky enough to get in at the right time with some of the right people. Ed Scheidler really gave me a good opportunity, and I made good use of it. I was always a hardworking guy, and that kind of led me into getting a factory ride and race for the race team and all that. And then once all those years went away, I went right back to that job of testing, week in, week out. So, a lot of neat projects have come across the desk since my involvement. Everything from disc brakes to fuel injection to the whole four-stroke revolution. And yeah, again, a lot of good people I've been able to work with, a lot of great engineers and, friends that I've built all around the world, whether it's testing in Europe or Japan or, any number of other places. And yeah, what can I say? I've really enjoyed the ride.
It's a heck of an experience for me to work for a guy that was an up-and-coming racer. Yeah, he trusted me to do the job. Obviously paid me peanuts, but yeah, that was the start of my career and an opportunity to where I got my foot in the door at Yamaha.
He, in my opinion, is one of few that as a test rider, I put him at the top of the podium almost from other riders that worked with us.
Well, it's funny you ask, because recently, yes, we've done some GYTR testing for the YZ85, and Doug fit that bike perfectly. And I feel like now at his older age, he's actually riding those bikes better.
And then as time went on, I moved from racing. I was in racing for 15 years, so he was a big part of Yamaha factory racing during my time in the racing division. And then I moved to the testing division, and actually I got to hire him back. So I made sure I paid him peanuts when I first moved in. But yeah, we've been together for 35 years or something together working with Yamaha.
He was excellent with suspension. He was excellent with feedback for motor, overall motorcycle. And he always could put himself into a mode where he could ride a motorcycle like a novice, he could ride it like an intermediate, he could ride it like a pro. Most test riders, they couldn't do that. Never complained about, I could put him out on the track for 3-4 hours and in a day's test time, which is quite demanding, and he'd come through every time.
It's really amazing to have your own business. I've obviously worked at a company, very consistent, stable, yet to take on what he has taken on, an unbelievable challenge. But yeah, clearly he made a very successful business, and because of his, I think most of his experience within motocross allowed him to make some very unique product that he was proud to put his name on it.
Yeah, Dubach Racing Development, DRD, we started that in 2001, as my heavy involvement in the whole four-stroke world. A little bit out of frustration, I was racing for White Brothers and kind of helping Mitch and all his testing stuff, and I just, I wanted to do things kind of my way. That's kind of what spawned that, and 24 years later, we've had some great successes, and it's, again, that's sort of I don't know if that's bread and butter is the right term, but that's been my passion, because I've always been a testing guy. My dad was a drag racer, so I've just been around performance and tuning, and this makes a difference and that doesn't, and my whole life. So it wasn't some divine plan to start an exhaust company, but I seemed to fit well in there, and had a lot of great success along the way, and yeah, it's been very rewarding.
Yeah, well, as we were walking in here, I was looking at all the people that have been inducted, and it's a long list of, awesome people that have made a huge contribution to this sport. And I feel like Doug has done that with his years of racing professionally, with his years of testing at Yamaha, with all of his coaching. He's just been a huge influence to this sport. So I think he deserves to be there.
And he's been riding for so long and so connected to motocross. Just in that sense, I think he's earned it for his longevity and his commitment and enthusiasm.
So many of the names that have come before me, and there was always something in the back of my mind. Maybe one day I'll kind of get the nod and get the Edison to Die Lifetime Achievement thing, and then I'm like, yeah, it just wasn't anything that I thought that would happen anytime soon. So when Lori announced that, it was a little bit emotional. Everyone's standing around cheering and clapping, and I was like, wow. So it kind of took about 24 hours to sink in, but yeah, my name will be there with a lot of very, very impressive people with a lot of achievements in this industry.
As you say, a full team rider, but he's getting a lot of help.
And they're both hungry. Witness this competition for fourth place. Willie Surratt getting a lot of pressure from Doug Dubach as they come up the hill into the...
Hey, Doug, congratulations on earning this award. You definitely deserved it, and enjoy the day.
All right, I think with Doug winning the Edison Dye Lifetime Achievement Award, it couldn't come to a more respected and a more deserving person than Doug Dubach.
Credit to everything that he's done for motocross. Yeah, his drive and his determination and his longevity, how committed he's been to a very niche sport that he's known all over the world for his accomplishments, and he should be proud of what he's built, an empire from just his longevity in the sport, his contributions to Yamaha and motocross. They're truly amazing. A big congratulations and very well deserved.
Doug, congratulations for this Edison Dye Award.
Hey, Doug-san, congratulations for your award. Thank you for your big support to motocross development for us. You are a very famous guy in head office also. Congratulations.
What a great honor to get the Edison Dye Lifetime Achievement Award. You know, that's something that I thought maybe would come one day, and I was still very surprised when I learned it was me this year. So great honor, and I hope I represent it well.